All right. Good morning slash evening, everybody. I want to run you through a scenario real quick. You're 13 years old and you just got out of school for the summer and you decide to find something to play. Most of the usual games back in like 20, like yeah, 2016, 2017. I'm probably undershooting it. Not really thinking right now, but you see your usual games. You got Minecraft, Fortnite, Elder Ring, mostly like platformers and fighters that you've been playing for a while now, and you've gotten pretty much gotten bored. Then you're just scrolling through your Steam library, whatever your Epic library, whatever, and you see a little tree icon, and you just wonder what that is. Download it, and you run it up, and then you instantly get pushed into something extraordinary. The game that I'm talking about is Terraria, and I want to discuss with everybody why you should play it. Terraria was released on May 16th, 2011 by Andrew Spinks. He's the founder of Relogic, and Relogic is the company that was made up about like 11 people. And the game is an RPG slash sandbox where you can build, you fight bosses till you make it to the end game. And there's three different stages. You got pre hard mode, it's just basic gathering, fighting, easy bosses. Hard mode, where you're mostly just going to start progressing towards the end of the game, and then post Moon Lord, which is, well, the Moon Lord is the last boss, but it's pushing towards that. I know the game is very similar to Minecraft, which is progression, but there is way more that I would have loved to talk about, but I don't think I would have enough time to put everything else. So I'm just boiling it down as simple as I can. Since I've like talking about this game or since I want to talk about this, my experience with the game has been a while. Even before it updated, I think I almost had all the achievements, but you can see my hours are insane, and it's even worse when you want to consider my modded experiences. But it's good. I can still, even with all this, I can still confidently say that the game holds up. And even, yeah, the people, most long time players think about it as well. I have been playing this for like 8 years, but sharing this game to others is kind of like me extending another part of myself. I love this game. I love the the story, even though you're not really talking to most people outside of NPCs, but it's a really good game. With that game, you need a bunch of enemies. to It's RPG. Of course, you need enemies. But unlike Minecraft, Terraria has so much more. I mean, you're getting basic stuff. You're usually getting like slimes, mimics, uh, skeletons, zombies, a bunch of other stuff. But once you start progressing more and more, it devolves into more like, I'd say, Lovecraftian and mythological beings. I guess like there's some Greek, yeah, there's Greek mythologies because they have Gorgons, they have wyverns, a bunch of other stuff. But along with all these enemies, you find a bunch of different weapons and games. But as you progress, you start to fight more and more crazy things like the Moon Lord, which is the final boss. I know he looks crazy, but to get to fighting slimes, to fighting things beyond human comprehension, you're going to need to pick a class. Each class has different armors and weapons, accessories, all that. But Terraria has four main classes, and you start with melee. Or most people like starting with melee, which you're just using swords with maces, spears, and it's a more up close fighting type of gameplay. Then you have mages who uses spell books, wands, staves, and sometimes fish because there are a lot of weaponry between all the classes that are based off of fish for some reason. Summoner, which is my favorite class, you mainly just use whips and you have little stabs and you can put a, like most of the stabs are just based off of other enemies that you run into, or you get little sentries, which are just like ballistas. Thing like flame traps. There's a lightning rod thing you can get, but it's really good. And then the one that I usually play the most outside of Summoner is Ranger, where you're using guns, bows, and rocket launchers. Kind of the opposite play styles for each one of these, but for the most part, you have these main classes, they're the base classes. And I would have loved, genuinely would have loved to talk about most of the other bosses along with this, but I just chose two of the most important ones for the plot and personally the ones I love the most. The one on the left is a wall of flesh. He is the literal wall that is blocking you from getting into hard mode. And once you kill him, a bunch of different evils and new enemies and bosses are available to the player. And on the right, you have the Empress of Light, which is the hardest boss, depending on whatever class you choose at the end game, because most people usually fight her after you kill Moonlord. She has way more HP than Moonlord himself and most of the other bosses, but she drops the she drops two of the best summoner weapons. And with those summoner weapons, it just makes the rest of the hard mode a breeze. At least back then, because since the area got updated, they did change a couple things, but I didn't really have time to put that in. Only reason it's so hard for summoners is because summoners have the worst defense out of all the classes, but I find it to be more of a challenge when it comes to that. I do have a video of me fight. Yep, there we go. I have a video of me fighting the Empress of Light. I did kind of cheat because I didn't have enough time to grind through the entire game, but it was just the basics of what you would really expect. Um God, this is kind of hard to talk about live. Um that right there is a frost hydra. That's one of the sentries I mentioned, and you're pretty much just it just sticks on the ground and it'll attack anything that's near it. I gave myself the best armor in the game for summoners, and it gives me this little guardian that also attacks. Along with that, I also had another summon. Dang, what summon did I use? I don't remember. Um. Oh yeah, it's a Stardust Dragon. It's also another end game summoner weapon, and it's every time you use it, it just extends the dragon's length and it gives it more damage. But I I won't lie. I'm even after playing this game for so long, I still struggle with it a lot. But it's all for at least this fight. It's really just all about pattern recognition. There's nothing much that can really come out of nowhere and kill you instantly, but the fight is pretty difficult. Most of the fights in this game is they're not too hard, but I thoroughly enjoy this one the most. Crap. Okay. This game has carried me throughout a lot of my childhood and teen years, and I still play it from time to time. But I'd love it if anyone who would watch this or share this with anyone else would get the same experience and feeling I get every time I boot up the game. It is way more fun with mods, but Terraria alone I feel like is way more enjoyable than Minecraft. I just I hate that I didn't have enough time to talk about it fully, but I do hope that whoever's watching this does enjoy it and enjoy this little presentation that I made, and I wish everybody the best of luck.